Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome back to another House of the Dragon video, and let's break down Episode 8's teaser to see what's going to happen next week during House of the Dragon. So again, a spoiler warning as usual. I will be talking about things I think is going to be happening in Episode 8, so just a fair warning. I try not to go beyond the episode just to avoid future spoilers, but again, if you want to go into it completely blind, go ahead and click off now. So let's jump over here and break down this little teaser trailer. All right, let's jump right in.
As hand, I speak with the king's voice on this.
So, quick shot of Otto, obviously. So, at this point, I want to say really quickly, I don't think the king is dead at this point, but Viserys is still alive. I think he's just going to be incapacitated. He's probably bedridden at this point. So, spoiler warning, he's not going to last very long, and that's all they're really waiting on for this thing to break out, the Greens specifically. Rhaenyra is prepared. She knows what's going to happen. We saw it last week. They pretty well established the blacks and the greens, and they know what's going to go down, so they're prepared for it. But obviously, she's not in a good position because as soon as the king dies, if she's not there, being on Dragonstone, they make Aegon king. That's going to make it harder in the first place. So it's going to be interesting to watch on screen. Finally, from the books, we see Otto here again talking. He's the king's voice right now, sitting in front of the Iron Throne. Then we get a quick shot here of an older Jacaerys here. He's over here to the left, and you see Rhaenyra, obviously, and then an older Baela as well. So again, Otto obviously in charge here, being the hand of the king while Viserys is incapacitated, and we'll see if he makes it back ever. This will be similar to the books. I think is going to happen during this episode is where Viserys, tries to have one more shindig, one more get together to make peace when all the children are fighting, all that kind of stuff. So I believe we'll see that during this episode.
And all other matters.
Otto's in charge. So Rhaenyra obviously starts her voice over here. Tomorrow the High Towers will land their first blow. We see the Greens here essentially. Obviously have an older Aegon here. This is old Aegon here. And by the way, this is a 5-year time jump. I should have said that in the beginning of the video. This is going to be a 5-year time jump, somewhere around that, something like that. And I think this is the last one we'll get. So no more time jumps beyond this unless they do perhaps again in season 2 or something like that to get some more kids involved with dragon seeds and all that kind of stuff as well to get them old enough as well for the remainder of the dance. So last big time jump here. So we have Aegon here. We have Eamon One Eye as we saw him become Aemond last week in this last week's episode. It was an outstanding scene with Vhagar. So you could see in that episode he wanted to say something to Lucerys at the time, I believe it was, and he wanted to say something during the funeral, but he didn't. So he was a pretty good kid. But then when he got Vhagar, that really kind of blew his head up and all that, and he came back and got in a fight, and you saw how he acted. He kind of became a villain in that moment. So it's going to be interesting to see Aemond One Eye and how people compare him to Daemon. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those comparisons. As well as Helaena here. Helena's now betrothed to Aegon, I believe they should be. And we'll see. It's going to be interesting how they do her character in the show versus the books. Obviously, she has some kind of green sight, or I guess we're calling it dragon dreams, but essentially the same thing. She's some kind of dreamer, as Viserys seems to be as well. Just like Dany's the dreamer, the original Targaryen dreamer that we know of, who had the dream of the doom of Valyria, which is why Aenor Targaryen brought his whole entire family, including 5 dragons, over to Dragonstone in the first place. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play Helaena in this series. Then, of course, we have Otto and the Queen Bee here, Alicent Hightower. We saw her lose her shit last episode.
And their first blow.
Quick shot here with a little smirk from Aegon here. I think this might be during that little get-together or whatever when they come back to King's Landing, because they're obviously waiting on something here, so it seems to be maybe they're waiting to meet as Rhaenyra and her children show back up to King's Landing, as we see in the next shot here where Daemon says, back to King's Landing then.
Those vipers rule in my father's name.
So this is what I was saying before. This is why I don't think Viserys is obviously dead. She's saying those vipers rule in my father's name. He's just away. He's incapacitated. Maybe he's bedridden. We'll see what happens. And so he's not quite dead yet, but that's really all they're waiting on to start this whole damn thing, specifically the Greens.
To King's Landing then.
So let's go try one more time for diplomacy and making sure they're not going to try to usurp your throne, that type of thing. So I think this will be essentially what happens in the books in that similar situation where Viserys wants everybody to get together and try to make peace one last time before he goes. Shot here, and this is going to be, I believe, Corlys Velaryon on Driftmark. I think he's bedridden. I think this is Rainey's coming in. This is definitely a woman. You can see her white hair here. It's hard to see, But I believe this is Driftmark and not the king, because obviously Alicent coming into the king's chamber, she would have brown hair. But he does say, Daemon does during this next voiceover, that Corlys did take a wound during the Battle of the Stepstone. So I believe that's who it is.
The sea snake has taken it.
As we see here, we see Rainey's just coming off that shot as well, which is what makes me think it's Corlys anyway. And then Daemon starts his voiceover.
A grave wound in battle in the Stepstone.
So he took a grave wound in battle during the Stepstones. Then we have Vaman coming back. I really didn't expect to see Vaman much anymore in this series, honestly, but they're going ahead and doing the Corlys Velaryon injury here. So his life is questionable at this point. So now he's coming in to say, who's going to be heir to Driftmark, if Corlys happens to die. And he is his brother here, as opposed to his nephew in the books, which is a little bit of a change, I guess, to make it more age appropriate or whatever. So Vaman coming back and seems to be making a power play for Driftmark. We see Eamon One Eye here, Sir Kristen Cole in the training yard. This is going to be him training now. And again, we're going to see the other kids here as well, his nephews or whatever. And this is going to be that one last shindig, so to speak, to see if they can all just get along.
Who will take the Driftwood throne?
So this is what I mean right here. So this is going to be a little different. Vaman here questioning who's going to take the Driftwood throne, as in if Corlys happens to die, what's going to happen here with all this going on and going down with Rhaenyra's kids, and Jacaerys would be king, Lucerys would be the heir to Driftmark, but are they bastards? So now that all this is known, this is going to be the big question. So Vaman may want it for himself here.
The crown cannot stand strong. The house of the dragon remains divided.
All right, so pretty self-explanatory there. Let me back that up a little bit as far as the voiceover there. Pretty self-explanatory. We see Jace and Lucerys here in the yards here. And speaking of kids, as far as the Greens go, Alicent's the last kid. It looks like they're just going to cut Darren from the show, I'd imagine, just try to not overcomplicate things. So it looks like they're going to do that, because I haven't seen any shots of Darren or anything about an actor playing him or whatever. But we see this is in the yard back at King's Landing. We see the white cloaks back here, the trainers as well. So it looks like somebody's coming in here to the yards again. So we have the older versions now of all the kids.
This is a matter.
So here's the shot here we see of Daemon picking up a dragon egg. This is what we thought we saw in the original trailers, that this is going to be during episode 2 when he was going to send the egg with Massaria, the White Worm or Lady Misery. So I do believe this will be him giving a dragon egg to one of his new kids we should see during this episode. They should be very young still, maybe up to 4 years old or something like that, but not really any older than that. So I'd imagine there's probably still in the cradle at this point. So he's going to be giving the eggs to his new kids with Rhaenyra. So there will be new children introduced, I suppose. To make it even more confusing, just by the way, for any non-book readers out there, they have 3 children, and they named them Aegon the Third Targaryen. So you have Aegon the Second, and now you're going to have Aegon the Third or Aegon the Younger. Then you have another Viserys, so Viserys the Second. So that's another one of his kids named after his brother, who's still the king at this point. And then, of course, they have a third child, a daughter, Visenya Targaryen, of course, named after the original Visenya Targaryen, one of Aegon the Conqueror's sister wives. So more kids to be introduced here. And, of course, to make it more complicated, they have the same names as the current living kids. So when you see Aegon the Second, they'll call him Aegon the Elder. And then his son, Daemon, and Rhaenyra's son, Aegon, will be Aegon the Younger. So hopefully they'll make that pretty clear. But anyway, I think this is what this is going to be, him putting dragon eggs in those cradles.
For blood, not ambition.
We see a shot here during what I believe this is going to be this get-together. You see here Aegon with the cup over here. It's kind of behind my head, so I apologize you can't see that. But you just see Aegon the Second here, Aegon the Elder at this point, holding a cup of wine here. And this is going to be Luke likely standing up and getting pissed off. So something's been going down here. They've been together in the same location. Again, I think this is going to be this last kind of shindig to try to make everything work out. But they start talking shit. And obviously calling them strong boys, and they even make a toast to them, how strong my nephews are type of thing. And that's what this is going to be, and they're going to probably lose their shit. So this will be the last time we probably see them in the same room without actually killing each other. We see what looks to be Massaria here, the White Worm, Lady Misery. She will come into play later on for sure. She will act as sort of a master of whisperers to Rhaenyra, kind of unofficially. So I believe this might be Daemon recruiting her to that role, or at least getting her prepared for it. Like, look, some shit's about to go down here. I need some information from you. And this is probably what starts that process where she unofficially serves as the mistress of whispers for Rhaenyra's Black Council.
This is a trap.
Nephew?
And here we go, the same scene here. We just saw Jace there, and now we see Eamon One Eye, the older Eamon One Eye. Obviously, you see now he has an eye patch on. You see the scar here from the blade from last episode. And they're in the training yards here again, so I believe this is all during the same situation here where they're all kind of back in King's Landing, staying for a while, trying to get along, or Viserys wants them to get along, but they're not going to get along. And right there, you see it. There's the fight breaking out. I'll back that up a little bit. You see it looks to be Jace here. And, of course, Lucerys back here as well, fighting Aegon. And then Jace is punching Aemond. But it looks like this is when the fight breaks out. Probably during that same scene we saw just a minute ago when Aegon still had the cup in his hand. And he stood up from the table. So shit's about to go down. And, again, last time they're in the same room without actually trying to kill each other. Although they would likely do it right now if it wasn't for somebody like guards, Kingsguard, whatever, breaking it up.
The threat of war looms.
The threat of war looms. In our last shot here, we have Vaman coming in with all the banners here. So he's coming in kind of in charge right now of Driftmark. And so it's going to be interesting to see what power play they have here as far as Vaman potentially trying to take over Driftmark because of Rhaenyra's kids being bastards and all that. So war is afoot, as Otto said. I believe that's the last shot there. And that is it. So really going to be interesting as this goes down the last couple episodes of the season. We have 8, 9, and 10, and we are done with House of the Dragon Season 1. So anyway, it's going to be really cool to see it go down, but also really sad. Just a reminder, just a friendly reminder, this doesn't have a happy ending for many people. So it's going to be pretty traumatic in the upcoming season specifically. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. As usual, thank you for all the support, especially you guys on Patreon. And a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers. And if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and a share. And of course, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button as we try to get this channel turned around and march towards 100,000 subscribers. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.